I'm now joined by Sarah Rankin and Daniela Forbes, and we're going to chat a little bit about this year's Scottish Game Fair, which is taking place in a few weeks' time. So, hi both, how are you?
Very
Hi,
well,
good,
thank you.
thanks.
Yeah, I mean we've just talked before this, and it's a horrible rainy day. So I'm hoping that when the game fair comes around, the weather's a bit better. But yeah. So do you guys? We're just going to we'll get into what people can expect and what's happening this year. But before we do you want to give a little introduction to yourself and what you do? So I'll start with you, Sarah, if that's okay.
Yeah, I'm Sarah Rankin. I'm a food writer and private chef, and I do lots of these sort of cooking demos. Sort of Scottish produce is absolutely in my wheelhouse. So things like the Game Fair are events that I'm really, really happy to support and come along and talk about local produce and how people can access it and cook with it.
And Daniela, what about you?
So I'm Daniela Forbes. I'm also a chef, but I'm a food educator and food stylist too. This is my fourth year where I'm curating and managing the Cookery Theatre at the Game Fair. So it's my job to basically find all the chefs and host as well at the event. So really closely involved with the Cookery Theatre at the Game Fair.
And same with you, Daniela. How did you get involved? So if this is your fourth year, how did you kind of start out doing it?
Well, initially it was an introduction, actually. It was a recommendation from Nick Nairn. So I've worked with him in the past as a home economist at various kind of events and shows. And they were looking for someone new to take over the job. And having previously done similar things at events like the Good Food Show, the Cake and Bake Show, Taste of Edinburgh, so lots of kind of back of house home economy type jobs. Yeah, it's been very varied, the kind of food stuff that I've done over the years. So making contacts, meeting lots of people, and it came about through a contact.
And Sarah, have you done the game here before? Is this your first year, or have you?
Yes, is this my fourth year too, Daniela? I can't
You
remember.
missed last year, but you did the
Oh, I
first
missed
year
last year,
that I was there.
sorry.
So I think, was it the first time, my first year was your first year too, wasn't it?
Yes, yes. So
That was 4
2022,
years
it
ago.
was
So this will be
my
your third.
first year. Yes, this is my third year because I missed a year, missed out last year.
So as far as I'm concerned, Sarah is a long-time friend of the Game Fair. So she's been great.
And Daniela, so how do you go about sort of finding and curating the cookery side of things? You know, is it like, you know, like you say, you're friends with Sarah, you sort of know people, like how do you go about doing it and how do you change it every year?
So it's a really interesting job, actually. It's very varied. It's a bit like kind of building a jigsaw puzzle. To begin with, I very much sort of inherited the list of who had featured at the show the previous year. So started there and looked at maybe what the profiles were and what they were doing and whether I thought they would be appropriate to come and do another kind of demo for us. So we started there, and then it's just grown with chefs that maybe I admire, chefs that are local and doing really exciting things, particularly with game or venison cookery. Sometimes it comes about through contacts and friendships, where one chef may suggest another chef. So it's kind of a small world, I guess, in Scotland of people knowing each other. But obviously Instagram is a great source of information and the media and just finding out who's doing what. So like I say, it's a bit of a jigsaw puzzle. But this year we wanted to bring some fresh voices to the table and I wanted to have a bit of diversity. So I didn't want it to be all about kind of restaurant chefs and all about fine dining, although we do absolutely bring that to the table as well. But I wanted a variety of different voices. So it kind of comes about like that.
And Sarah, how do you go about sort of preparing for it, and how do you sort of keep things fresh or different, you know, every year, like year on year?
Yeah, that's a really interesting one. I mean, the way that I work anyway is I don't work on a menu basis. So, you know, in my private chef work where I do private dining events or catering events, I don't write menus. I am ingredient led first. So I'll always focus on the ingredient. So it will very much be what's in season, what's there. I'll go to my game dealer or my butcher, or the person who grows veg for me in Napolitan, and I'll just go and look and see what's good. And then I decide what I'm going to cook. It's not the other way around where I've written a menu and then I think now I need to go and find X, Y, and Z ingredients because they might not be at their best. you know, I might not be able to source them. So I'm led very much in that direction. So in a roundabout way, what I'm trying to say is I don't have a clue yet what I'm going to cook at the game fair because I'll decide 2 days before. It will be venison, but I'll decide very much just off the hoof and see what's there. And I tend to walk the food village as well. So I'll walk around all the exhibitors and I'll do a little bit of a kind of almost like a ready, steady cook situation where I'll say, oh gosh, I have not tried that before. Let's try that. And I'll see if I can incorporate that into my demo and things like that. So, and that helps me sort of meet new suppliers and meet new producers and, you know, everyone to kind of get something out of it.
And it's so I suppose the clue's in the name for anyone that doesn't know, the Scottish Game Fair. And Daniela, is the focus always on venison, or is it a particular thing that you're focusing on this year?
So we are collaborating with Scottish Venison this year, and we have been for the last 3 years. So this is our 3rd year in collaboration with them. So it's not exclusively venison. We definitely encourage other aspects of kind of game cookery. But venison, I think, is such a wonderful and underused and really readily available ingredient. So I actually think in terms of a partnership, it's a really, really strong one. And I think venison is the game that people, I think, are most comfortable eating and cooking. So it does feel like a really nice fit. But the whole, you know, every aspect of game cookery is sort of celebrated. We also have a seafood chef on Sunday too. So we kind of look at all aspects. Foraging is another kind of important aspect too. So it's not all about venison, but it is predominantly chefs cooking with venison.
And we've just had a little change of scene for Sarah, who was having some internet problems for anyone watching on video. So now we're in your lovely office, it looks like, which is much tidier than mine, which is why I always sit here. So, Sarah, do you want to sort of talk to us a little bit about venison? Because I know that it's one of those things that's quite readily available, but you see it more on sort of restaurant menus, and it's more, I sort of feel like it's more of a chef thing, and it's not necessarily something that consumers are looking, you know, might not know what to do with, which is obviously the whole point in your cookery classes. So do you want to just sort of talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Venison is completely ubiquitous for people like me and people like Daniela. So we're in the food business and we know that it's really easily accessible. We know where to get it, but it's not really often found in supermarkets, which is, let's face it, where the vast majority of us are shopping. So I think the game fair has a really valuable role to play in giving people just that really basic information of where you can get it, who you can get it from, and what you can do with it. There are too many deer in this country, so there is a harvesting programme. It seems only sensible that those end up in the food chain, which the majority of them do. More of them could. But also, it's a great meat to work with. It's very high in protein. It's very lean. It's very low in fat. It's high in iron. There's lots of positives about it. And I think it does need a wee bit of demystifying, though, in terms of how to use it in the kitchen. And I know from my childhood, we had venison a lot. I'm from the Highlands, so we had venison a lot. But it was, you know, a friend of my dad would turn up with a beast, and it was he'd managed to bag the sort of one at the end that's got a gammy eye and a funny leg, and that's how he managed to catch it. So, you know, it wouldn't have necessarily been premium cut. And it used to be hung for quite a long time. It was very gamey, very, very strong. And certainly I think there's probably a lot of people who have those kind of memories of it being this incredibly well hung, very strong meat, which is really not how we eat it anymore. You know, my game dealer shoots the order for me because if I'm doing a big event and, you know, I'll tell him what I need. But mine is hung for maybe 4 days. And so it has a little bit of gaminess, but actually it's quite a mild flavour. It's very similar to beef, just with a little bit of something extra.
And then, Danielle, are you finding that, you know, the chefs that you're talking to about cooking with venison, they're quite receptive, similar to what Sarah's just said? They want to get that message out there about it as a meat?
Absolutely. And obviously the chefs have been selected because we know that they have a sort of really positive relationship with game and with venison. They love it. I mean, chefs love using it. What we predominantly use now in our sort of cookery theatre is raw deer and sika deer, which have a much milder flavour than maybe some of the red deer, like Sarah was saying. People do have this perception that it's got a very strong gamey flavour. And I think you'll find that most of the game venison that we're using has a lovely, delicate flavour. It's really succulent. It's delicious to eat and fantastic to cook with. And it's incredibly versatile. So you can pretty much use it in place of beef for almost every type of recipe, and it's more affordable. And I think there is a barrier between people actually realizing that, because it can be quite difficult to source and to find. So our job is all about kind of promoting the fact that you can get it and how kind of accessible and adaptable it actually is. So no, they're really up for it, and they love to champion it. So it's a great thing to do.
Nice. And staying with you, Daniela, you've been at the Game Fair for a number of years, as you said. Do you want to just give us a little bit about the background of it for anyone that doesn't know?
Well, it's been running for 30 years, I believe. Obviously, my job is to curate and host the Cookery Theatre. So that's my area of kind of expertise. But from what I can see, it's been going for 38 years. It's all about championing kind of the countryside and game and sport. There's lots of kind of interesting things for people to do. Great for dog lovers. They're really focusing much more on entertainment now and making it a really, really great, fun family day out. There's fishing, there's shooting, there's lots of children's activities. So it's just a great family day out, but it's all about championing the countryside. They work very closely with the GWCT. So yeah, that's basically my knowledge of it.
And so I went years ago with my uncle, who's a big fisherman. So I've sort of got an idea. I've not been in a really long time, but like you say, it's more like there's more entertainment, there's more for families. So have you seen that coming through over the years, like coming into the, the cookery theatre and just the people showing up? Is it more sort of maybe a bit more diverse than it would have been, or that people maybe think it is?
I think it's incredibly diverse. I was really surprised the first time I went in. I think there's this perception that it's a certain type of audience, very sort of, a bit older perhaps, very kind of countryside. And there is that aspect, absolutely. And there's a lot of people that are kind of in the industry that come along. But it's really just a good family day out. And you see all kinds of people, lots and lots of kids. So my kids come every year. There's kind of shooting activities that they can do. There's fishing activities. There's lots of different kind of exhibitors there. They're actually introducing a craft area this year as well, to showcase some kind of artisan craft producers. So yeah, I think that's definitely been the focus, to really focus on kind of moving away from this kind of stuffy reputation that it may have had and moving it forward into feeling a lot more modern. And the food thing, I think, has become, from what I can see, it's become much bigger and much more of a focus area over the last 4 years. So that's been fantastic for me.
And because that must be a huge draw for people. I mean, I know that if you have a perception of it, but you think, oh, there's this, cookery demonstrations going on and I can, go along and kind of learn something, that would sort of appeal, I think, to lots of different people.
I think it definitely does. Yeah, I think it really does. I think there's a lot of people that are really interested and curious about food. I think some events, they can charge for the kind of activities that we're offering, and we tend to have a kind of very open house. Anyone can come in. I think the Cookery Theatre at the Game Fair as well, because it's a slightly smaller event than perhaps the Highland Show and other larger events of this type, it feels a lot more friendly and a lot more welcoming, and you can pretty much get in the Cookery Theatre. We take up to about 120 people, and there's standing room also. Also, you can have this direct dialogue as well with the chefs, which is lovely, and they're very open to people coming up at the end, having a chat. And we also let people taste the food that the chefs have made. And I don't think all events are allowed to do that. So that's a really nice added extra. They can actually taste the dishes and hopefully be inspired to go home and try them out themselves.
And Sarah, what is your sort of favourite aspect of the last few years you've done at the Game Fair?
It's like Daniela says, it's a really lovely atmosphere. It's a really friendly atmosphere. And I think people assume that it will be sort of very tweeds and shotguns and all that sort of thing. And there is absolutely a degree of that. But I think we forget that 70% of the population of this country live in the Central Belt. They don't live and they're not parts of rural communities. So I think it serves an incredibly important purpose of educating the rest of the guests who are there about the rural life and about what, you know, our sort of countryside heritage is about, and the people who live and work in it, and why it's important that we preserve it. So I think it's really valuable. I love the atmosphere, and it's like Daniela says, it's lovely. The tent, you're very up close to the audience. It's not a huge cavernous room, and people are really keen to ask questions. Daniela's being very humble. She's a brilliant host, so she really draws in whoever's demonstrating with the guests you're watching. It's a really lovely experience. I really love doing it. It's one of my favourite things to do in the year.
We have a lot of chefs that come back as well, and I think that says a lot. It tells us that they really enjoy it. And they seem to want to come back. So it's not too difficult to sell as far as I'm concerned. So that's fantastic for me.
And it must be nice, Sarah, to have that audience interaction as well. I know you do, you know, events and private chefing and stuff, but like when you're doing an event like that, to be able to actually see and speak to the audience in like a one-to-one way, it must be quite nice.
I love that. I mean, actually just sharing information about food and sharing my recipes and sharing what I'm doing and having a bit of back and forth with people is what I live for. I love doing it. And it's always really, people always have really interesting questions, and, you know, they're always genuinely interested to see, where did you get this and how did you do this and how was this process? And the fact that we're just right there in front of them and we can just show it and share it, and yeah, take a bit of the mystery out of it for them is a great experience.
So, Daniela, whereabouts is the Game Fair based, and where can people find out more information on tickets, and more importantly, what dates is it this year?
Okay, so it's at Scone Palace in Perthshire. So very famous location. It's beautiful. On a riverside, so they do all the fishing there, really close to Perth city centre. You can go onto the Scottish Game Fair website and tickets can be purchased there. So yeah, lots and lots of information on the website about the event and all of the stuff that's happening.
So Sarah, we can't not mention MasterChef, which you were on. So how was that?
It was absolutely fantastic. You know, it completely changed my life. I will always be grateful for having done it and had the opportunity to do it. Yeah, basically the sort of within, I don't know, 2 or 3 days of being there and being on set, I realised that I was wanting to be a chef and I was going to change my life and I was going to start writing cookbooks and start cooking for a living, and that's what I've done. So, you know, and meeting people like Daniela, who bring you in so well to that kind of new world, which I wasn't part of before. I used to run a marketing agency. I had, like, you know, what would be considered a proper job before this, and it's great. It's a really actually quite a small industry. The food and the cooking industry in Scotland, as you will know, is quite a small industry, and everybody kind of knows everybody. But the MasterChef thing, it has, you know, it did open doors for me, and it did kind of give me confidence and a bit of a springboard. And yeah, it was a fab experience.
And you host the Golden Spurtle World Porridge Championships, which is not easy for me to say, which we've done a podcast on. But how is that? Because it looks wonderful, I must say.
I love it. I went the first year. I did it I was invited as a guest judge. So they have guest judges who come along, and I was the kind of celebrity, for want of a better word, judge. And it was fab. It was great, but you're sort of stuck in a little room off the side, and you're not really getting to meet all these wildly eccentric people who've come from all over the world to talk about porridge and cook porridge and try and win this world championship. So, and also you have to eat 64 bowls of porridge, which is frankly quite the challenge. So I said, I really want to do this. I really want to be part of this again. But do you know what? How about you give me a microphone and I'll go and stand out the front? So that's what I do now. And it's just fantastic. It's an amazing day out. I'd say to anyone, we do live stream it actually on Facebook. The whole day is live streamed. You can watch the whole thing. But if you get the chance to come up to Carbridge and actually be in the village hall and be part of it, it's an exceptionally fun day out.
You know, it definitely looks it. And Daniela, what are you looking forward to most about this year's Game Fair?
It's the whole thing, but mainly this kind of diversity of chefs that we've got this year and seeing how that all kind of comes together. We're bringing in more of a kind of storytelling element with Cognac McLeod. I'm really excited about him. Claire from Cafe Cool, Claire Coghill, just some new faces, some faces from last year and the year before who I can't wait to see. So just the atmosphere, bringing all these kind of food people together, I find it incredibly inspiring. So I learned so much as well, just watching and talking to all these amazingly talented chefs. And that kind of connection with the audience, which I love. I mean, for me, education and inspiring people to just go out there and try things themselves, that's why I got into cooking and why I love it. So all of that, yeah. And I forgot to say earlier, the weekend is the 3rd, the 4th and the 5th of July. So which is not long.
No, it's really not. I mean, it's scary that it's June already.
I know.
And Sarah, what about you? What are you looking forward to the most?
Just getting there, just being on site. It's a really great, chefing is quite a lonely job. You know, you're in a kitchen by yourself and you're back of house by yourself, and you don't often have a lot of time to interact. So as Daniela says, there's a brilliant lineup of chefs this year, and lots of them are friends of mine, and I can't wait to sort of see them in action and catch up with them. But it's a brilliant opportunity as well to just see about new food producers, new food suppliers, and see who's there and sort of make some new connections, try some nice food, and get the opportunity to eat the food from some of the chefs that I love, who I never have time to go to their restaurants.
Yeah, you guys must not have to have lunch or dinner. You must just be constantly snacking on really good food.
You'd be surprised how quickly those samples get snapped up, though. So you have to almost like just pull some off for yourself, put it to one side, and then say, "Don't touch that." So there's a lot of nibbling, but there's a lot of hungry faces and people that want to try it.
And what have you got coming up for the rest of the year that you're looking forward to? Daniela, I'll start with you.
So I run my own cooking classes. I've got some kids workshops coming up. I've got sourdough and pizza workshops that I run throughout the year. I also work with Seafood Scotland, Quality Meat Scotland. So I've got various kind of clients that I work with on a freelance basis. So lots of bits and pieces coming up. But I'll probably have a couple of weeks after the game fair to chill out and go on holiday and do not very much.
Nice, sounds good. And Sarah, what about you?
I've got a very busy rest of the year coming up. I'm curating the Cookery Theatre for the Edinburgh Folk and Food Festival in George Square Gardens, which I've done for the last few years, which is great fun. It's a very similar job to what Daniela has. Like she says, it's a jigsaw, just trying to organise everyone, but it's brilliant fun. I'm also hosting the kitchen theatre at the Foodies Festivals this year in Edinburgh and Glasgow, which is my first year hosting. I've demoed for a few years, but I'm getting to run the tent this year, which is going to be great fun. And my supper clubs start again. I run those from my house in Kinross throughout the autumn and the spring, and the dates for them are going live in the next probably 4 weeks. So I'll be starting to plan for them. Yeah, so just the usual, loads. I think I've got a day off in November sometime.
Oh God. Well, thank you very much for coming on and chatting about the game fair. And yeah, I would encourage anyone to go along. I remember loving it when I was young, and that wasn't yesterday. So yeah, it sounds like it's just grown, and the food offering sounds like it's going to be amazing. So good luck with it all, and thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. It's been great.